I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask everybody to rise if you can and join Councilor Cordero leading us in the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, Mrs. Seneth.
Okay. Councilor Ouellette? Here. Councilor Pendleton?
Present.
Councilor Cordero?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Paterna?
Here.
Mayor Zimmerman?
Here.
Councilor Delnicki? Here. Councilor Fitzgerald? Here. Councilor King? Here. Councilor Balboni?
Thank you very much. Item 4 is mayor's remarks. I have a couple, and then I'm going to turn it over to the town manager for an introduction. In honor of yesterday's national holiday for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I'd like to acknowledge and thank him for being both a religious, a moral, and a political leader, and his strong belief and advocacy for nonviolent protest, an important need for everybody to treat equally with dignity is still as relevant today as it was almost 70 years ago, including the following quote that I saw yesterday for the first time: "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." Also, yesterday was my first Mayor's Day of Service. I'd like to thank a few people. First of all, Deputy Mayor Paterna for starting this tradition in 2020. I want to thank everybody who helped serve lunch and dinner, clean up afterwards. This was all at the Cornerstone Shelter in Vernon, and/or donate food or cash. Special thanks to Mark Cabot from Cornerstone and the Hartford Bags of Love for what he does every day, for being such a good role model, and to our town manager for letting us use the town hall for collecting food donations. I also wanted to let the entire town council and town know about an important discussion that we will be having at our next meeting. In order to make sure that any future important town and decisions and votes by our town council and referendums include a clear discussion and review of all important information, we're going to include this as a discussion item at our next town council meeting on February 2nd. And I just want everybody to understand this is about the entire charter process and the updated document. Having said that, I'll turn it over to the town manager for something that we requested for today's meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as the mayor mentioned a few weeks back, he asked after becoming mayor if he could come in and meet with myself, the finance director, and kind of do a budget 101 discussion and kind of get some of the basics and foundations of the way the town's budget works overall. After doing that, I hope he found it helpful, and I think he did, because he asked the finance director to come on over and do something similar for all of you tonight. So with that, I'll turn it over to our finance director, Patty, who could kind of run us through budget basics and kind of a budget 101 presentation.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'm Patty Perry. I'm the Director of Finance. So I put together this little presentation of budget basics. So I just wanted everybody to know that the town operates on a fiscal year, and we do so because the state of Connecticut has made it a uniform fiscal year for all municipalities. It runs from July 1st to June 30th. And sometimes we refer to the year as the ending, so fiscal 2027, or right now we're in fiscal 2026. Okay, so the town uses fund accounting. It separates finances into different funds for tracking. So we also budget by fund, and there are 3 budgets that have adopted budgets. So the general fund and the recreation special revenue fund is adopted by the council, and the sewer fund budget is adopted by the WPCA. Everything else doesn't have an adopted budget. So for budget actions, we've heard from the town council and their policy statement, and the town manager has given the staff budget memo directions. I believe capital planning is working out their 5-year plan. So at the current moment, the town departments are putting in their budget requests. I know the Board of Ed has been working on their budget, and we've been looking over the debt service figures. So on the town operations side only, the town manager has meetings set up with every town department in February, and the departments will present their budget to the town manager. We'll look at actual expenditures, where they are this year, where they've been 5 years. We'll look at prior budgets for 5 years. We'll review every salary and position, and then the departments will present their expenditures to the council, I believe in April. So then kind of getting back to the budget process, once the town manager has decided which requests will go forward, we will get figures from the Board of Education. In both the superintendent and the town manager will present their proposed budgets in March. There'll be an input portion. The departments will come and present their budgets to you. I know that you guys will have joint workshops with the Board of Ed, and there'll be public hearings for public input. And once all the numbers are finalized, there'll be a final budget. We will set the mill rate, and that will become effective for the tax bills. They will go out July 1st of 2026. So we have to have a balanced budget. So once we sort of know the expenditure numbers, we will have the same amount of revenues. So I just broadly put the categories out there, and these were the percentages of what % town operations was of the entire budget last year, going down debt service, capital, education, and on the revenue side, you can see their current taxes are about 84% versus other revenues are only about 16%. So other revenues, and these percentages make up the 16%. So there's a receivable component. So prior year taxes that are uncollectible, they remain collectible for 15 years from the due date. And those receivables include interest and liens on the balance of those receivables. Going down to the second box, we have education cost sharing. We sometimes refer to that as ECS. Those are numbers given to us based on governor's estimates, which we do not have. We won't have those until February. Normally, that's about 7% of our other revenue bucket. We have other state revenues, which is just sort of broad motor vehicle cap grants. We have to cap our motor vehicles at a mill rate of 32.46, and we do get reimbursement to make up for that amount. There's other municipal project grants. We get some youth services grants, elderly transportation, and something that the state calls a pilot. So it's payment in lieu of taxes. And any state-owned land in town, they pay us a pilot. Then we have up top on the right, we have interest, that's bank account interest earnings, and we kind of budget that based on history and proposed rates. Then we have local revenues, that's our permit fees, so building permits, town clerk fees, health permit fees. And then lastly, we have transfers in, which could be transfers in from tax stabilization and transfers in from other funds, like the rec special revenue fund. Sometimes we'll do a transfer in. We have an IT multi-town fund that sometimes does a transfer in. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the grand list now. The assessor is on track to sign the grand list for 10/1/25 on or before January 30th. So the grand list will be all residential and commercial real estate, and that's valued every 5 years. And valued annually is personal property, which is self-reported by businesses, as well as all the motor vehicles in town. We get a list from DMV, and then the assessor's office prices the vehicles. We do have some abatements / reductions, so I just wanted to kind of list those at the bottom. And I know that you'll be talking at the next meeting about some of those reductions or abatements. So then I think everybody wants to know how the mill rate is calculated. So once we have total expenditures and we know what our non-tax revenues are, those are our other revenues, and what we'll raise in motor vehicle revenues, that is what we need to raise in real estate and personal property taxes. You divide that by the real estate and personal property grand list, and that will give you the mill rate that can then be applied to the assessed value of each home. So I just want to let everybody know on our website that's listed at the bottom, we have budget reports, I believe going back about 10 years. And we create a budget book that will be given to all of you before the town manager makes his presentation in March. And we use this book as, several different guides. We try to inform readers. We talk about personnel, services, functions, and it outlines our spending plan for the fiscal year. So that is all I had on budget basics. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Appreciate that, Patty. Thank you so much. Could you go back to the slide that just has the budget town expenses on one side and the revenues on the other? Okay, thank you.
And these are last year's percents, but I would assume will be somewhat similar.
Yeah, I figured that too. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
While that slides up, it kind of, would it be accurate? I've heard Dr. Carter talk about the fact that the slice of the pie for all those things listed on the left is pretty comparable town to town. Everybody looks at the Board of Ed and sees, I think it's 62 or whatever, and says, wow. But that's pretty much statewide. She's always talked about the fact that you could argue that the pie needs to be bigger, but it's not necessarily the split of the pie. Based on from where you're sitting, would you agree, or do you see something different in other towns?
I think I would have to agree that it's, usually, a 30, 60 split, if you will.
Okay. I'm going to go to Deputy Mayor Paterna, and then I have a couple questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Patty, for the presentation. Maybe either you or the town manager can help on looking at that slide, the debt service at 9%. At what point does the debt service go up high enough that it becomes to have a negative impact on our ratings, for instance?
So in our debt policy statement, we do say that we try to, I think it was endeavor, to keep debt service percent to about 10% of your total revenue, expenditures, sorry. So I think we're there, and I think if you look at the debt service amortization schedule, you will see that debt is going down, but we still have debt to issue. So we'll be doing an issue next month.
So we do have a goal that's set, and we're actually below that goal. We don't want to go above that 10%. Okay.
For last year, we were, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. First of all, I really want to thank you for the presentation. You probably spent a good hour with me a couple weeks ago, and I thought I got a lot out of it. Can we get a copy of today's presentation? Because I think it's maybe a little bit different.
Of course.
And I'd find that helpful. Just a couple other things for my fellow counselors to think about. And these are really rough numbers. I know nobody wants to see spending go up and nobody wants to see taxes go up. It's kind of a little bit harder when we ask people like what they'd like to get rid of. But I think probably both parties, but we did a review probably about a year ago, and regardless of party, so I'm gonna give credit to both or blame to both, go over like the last 10 years. My read of what it was, if you discount like the last 2 or 3 years, I'm gonna say those were unusual coming out of COVID, increase in number of students. But if you look at the 10-year period before that, I believe if anybody took a look or would go back and look, on average our spending went up 2 to 4%, and the taxes increase actually was 1 to 3%. Right? We basically were able to spend more than the tax increase, and that's because the grand list growth was, I'm going to say it was over 3%, which was very unique. I've talked to the town manager about how well our town was situated, but I don't want anybody to lose, and I think you might have gone over the figure, but the estimated grand list growth for this year, is it still 0.5?
For real estate, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you know, just to let everybody know, I mean, we're gonna, last year was difficult for the people that were on the council, and this year will be challenging for us too. I think that's all I have. Does anybody else? Councilor Roulette?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would it be possible to get a breakdown of the commercial versus residential grand list over the last 10 years to see the trajectory of each of those? And I'm most interested in the direction of the commercial grand list.
I'll work with the assessor.
Thank you.
Councilor Fitzgerald?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Patty, do you have, or is there somewhere on the website, like a list of the kind of the bonded debt that we have and like when each of those will be paid off? And then also same with the abatements for commercial properties, kind of like when those will kind of phase off. Do you have like a list of that somewhere that people can see so we can see kind of like when we're paying off big chunks of bonded debt and when commercial properties are going to be paying more?
So in the budget book on the website, we do have the debt amortization schedule, and we will have that in the book that will come to you in March as well. I know there was an abatement page on the website that detailed where the abatement properties were and when they were coming off. We did only have one abatement come off on the 25 grand list, which was Aldi, but we had two come on. So it's kind of a wash, yep.
Thanks.
Councilor King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a follow-up on that. Do we have, I believe I've seen it in the past, a list of all of the businesses in which they pay, what taxes they pay? So for every business that's in South Windsor, is that public knowledge? I believe I've seen it for the major ones, but for all of the different businesses that are in South Windsor, whether that be whatever, because I don't want to get caught up in names, but do we have a list of that on the website, or is there a place where anybody in town could go to and say, hey, I want to see, I'll use my business, SKJ Experiments, a music business, how much did he pay in taxes? Is there a place where everybody can see that?
So on the Collector of Revenue website, there's a place where you can go to pay your bill online, and it's also a search engine. So if you know the address or the name, you can type that into the search bar and you can get a history of, you can see PDFs of, you know, the invoices and, you know, where they're at, have there been payments. The only thing we don't show on there is it's very hard to find a motor vehicle.
Okay, yeah, no, I was just really thinking of like the brick and mortar.
But, you know,
Like
you
if I
can
wanted to
choose
look up
real-
Subway and on such and such, I could type in Subway on this street and it'll tell me what taxes they paid.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor
Senator.
Pendleton would like to speak.
Okay. Councilor Pendleton? We can't hear you.
There we go. Thank
Okay.
you. Sorry. This is a wonderful presentation, Patty. I just want to say that for all the years that I've been here, I've never seen anything in such detail. As far as the council has ever known or the public has ever known, we've done the 3 budgets, you know, the Board of Education budget, capital projects, and the general government budget. And we sit and we look at that and then we go, okay, that's all. No, there's much more to it than we even realize. And with seeing what you presented to us tonight, it's amazing to me how involved you are, how much is happening behind the scenes and all the financial pieces that have to go into everything. So I really appreciate you and your department, and I know the rest of us do too, and what you do for us in giving us an award-winning budget book every year, and I thank you for that very much. My simple question is, on our website, on the town's website, do we have the formula to figure out the 70%? and I'm not saying it correctly, but I think you know what I'm talking about, where it's the math formula where you can put in what you're assessed at, which is a 70%, and then you can come up with the other number, which then can do it in the reverse and tell you what your house is worth. Do you know what I'm saying?
So on the Collector of Revenues website, we have a mill rate calculator. So if you know your assessed value of your home and what it was taxed at this year, you can put the numbers in and it'll tell you what the taxes will be next year with the new mill rate.
Okay. Does it tell you what your house is worth, though?
So you can find
I mean,
that.
because we do a 70% and there's like a 30%. Do we have that, a formula?
So on the GIS website, on the town's website, you can go and look up your property and find, there's a whole assessor property card. It'll give you the market value, the assessed value, historical information. So from there, you can take the assessed value and then go to the calculator.
That's it. Okay, that's how you do it. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Maniscalco, I apologize, I should have given you a heads up, but you gave a presentation when the deputy mayor and I and you met with the seniors about abatements. Could you do that quick review? Because I think it's helpful. It kind of finishes this picture, and I think it'll also answer some questions for a lot of people in the public if they watch what they just heard, and also get an update on abatements.
Sure. So just I'll give you the executive level version of that for time purposes. You know, we do issue tax abatements in town to potential businesses. The process to do that, first of all, is a business needs to go through the planning and zoning process prior to applying. So they have an approval from planning and zoning. They will then apply for a tax abatement. It goes through my office internally. We check it out with the assessor's office, who actually runs the numbers on the business and the proposed project to determine, you know, what's the actual investment going to be, what's the value of that project going to be. We check to make sure they're up to date on all their taxes. We check to make sure they're compliant with planning and zoning on everything, compliant with the building department. Then myself and the assistant manager sit down, look at the numbers that are put together with the assessor, and kind of come up with a recommendation based off of what those numbers look like, as well as the benefit it will have to the community, and make a recommendation to, excuse me, economic development, where, you know, that recommendation can be all the way up to 7 years and 70%, or it could be something much lower, depending the value and size of that project. The easiest way to think about tax abatements is you have a piece of property, and let's say that piece of property is $1, and the individual is going to do some type of project on that property, and that project is $9. We can basically give them some type of an abatement on that property, or on that project. We're still always going to collect that $1 on the property. We're going to be abating, you know, X number of dollars. Let's just say it's 5. So we're gonna abate 50% of the value of the actual building. So that's $4.50 out of that $9 project. So then we're still going to be collecting $5.50 in taxes throughout the lifetime of that abatement cycle. Typically, they can be all the way up to 7 years in town. State statute actually recently changed and opened up the floodgates. You can actually offer much more, but the town of South Windsor has basically stayed with what traditionally we've always done, which is seven years at 70%. Lastly, I will follow, which I said at the senior center, you know, we are in competition with other communities around us, and other communities like East Hartford, Manchester, Glastonbury, other places are offering tax abatements, and we need to be competitive with those communities in order to retain some of those businesses. So I think I hit all the high points for you.
Yep, and then the other thing that you've described, and by the way, I've had to do a learning curve over the last couple months. Do I understand? I think the numbers are there's only 7 to 10 businesses currently that are in the tax abatement process. Sometimes you think, if just kind of walking around town, that it's like every business. This is just for the property taxes. So if they have equipment that's eligible to be taxed, we get 100% of that.
Correct. We get 100% of equipment, cars. The only caveat to that, if it's an industrial business, that's typically abated through the state. So we can't collect any of those things for the industrial side of it, but.
And if they leave earlier than 10 years, this is the deputy mayor keeps reminding me, they owe us everything.
So in the agreements that we do put together now, we have clawback provisions in them in the event that certain criteria are not met, or if they were to close up shop and go somewhere else before the end of the 10 years on the agreement, we do have clawbacks to get that money back.
All right, I'm going to leave something for the deputy mayor, but I'll stop with this. Assuming that it's a place like Coca-Cola that could go a number of different towns, the thing that I've tried to explain to people is, isn't it better to get 30 or 40% of something than 100% of zero? Maybe I'm making it too simple, but I'll defer to the deputy mayor. I think I know what he's going to say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Maniscalco. I think it's important also for people to understand that 7 of the top 10 taxpayers in 2024 are companies that the town council gave an abatement to. So yes, you collect fewer taxes in those first few years, whether it's 4, 5, 6, or 7, but eventually that business is one of the top 10 7 out of 10 top 10 taxpayers in the town. So we gain, since every town around us is doing the same thing. So we're in competition.
Correct, and I think it's important to note that of those, they're all top 10 taxpayers, but their abatements have also ended. So we're actually collecting the full amount, and they're staying here and continuing to work here.
Right, I'd like to use, if I could, Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
I'd like to use, I don't want to pick on Coca-Cola anymore, but Home Depot, that piece of property was $90,000 in taxes. And with the abatement, in the first year, we received $300,000. And after the 5 or 6 years when the abatement ran out, it was up to $600,000. So we went from $90,000 to $600,000 per year. And all the equipment, that's not even adding the equipment, because we're taxing the equipment. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, and again, thank you, Mrs. Perry, for the presentation. Thank you, the town manager. Item 5 is the adoption of the agenda. Councilor Delnicki.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Is there, okay. Any questions, concerns?
I'd like to make a amendment to the agenda, please.
Yep.
I'd like to move 11A15 from the consent agenda to new business as item 13F. So that way we can vote the consent agenda in full, and Councilor Pendleton can recuse from 13F.
All right. We already have a motion and a second.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Councilor Pendleton?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, just one other
Yep.
amendment. The minutes from the last meeting will not be available tonight, so I'd like to postpone the approval of the minutes till the next meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a second.
And for our executive session, I'd like to add a second executive session with the town manager and the town clerk, and it's regarding a personnel issue.
You mean clerk of the council?
Clerk of the council. Sorry.
All right, is there a second for those? All right. All those in favor of the amended agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We are under item 6, communication and reports from the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, apologies, I did not get you a written report this last week. Things have been a little bit hectic in the office. So first of all, just wanted to start with our snow removal. I know we've had a very busy weekend, and I think I sent you all an email a couple weeks ago related to the snow removal budget. This is excluding this last weekend. Our fleet overtime is at 77% spent. Our street overtime is at 78% spent. Our parks overtime is at 81% spent, and our snow and ice budget is at 89% spent. I will take note that this last year's budget, we did not cut those items, so they're kind of standard where they have been in previous years. It's just been a very busy winter. Myself and the finance director have been putting together plans for how we will handle overages, because I can't imagine that all of a sudden snow is going to stop. And in fact, I've heard of some word on the street there's going to be another big storm later this week. So, you know, just something to be aware of. And I do want to just mention, I know those guys are out there working really, really hard, as well as the ladies that were out there working really hard this last weekend. I don't believe they even got a weekend, to be very frank. So I've heard rumor once in a while that people are like, oh, they get all this overtime, lucky them, lucky them. In conversations I've had with Public Works individuals who work snowstorms, they don't want to be out there as much as you wouldn't want to be out there. So I do plan to go over there. I think it's this Thursday to the Public Works Department. I'm going to probably be cooking some lunch with the Director of Public Works and some of the other management for all those guys, because they've been really, really hard at work. So that's that item. I think everybody saw the governor came out with some words about the assessments on farm property. I just wanted to let the council know I had staff take a review of that today, and we should not have any issues because of that. Essentially, our assessor, the way the statutes work, it gives the assessor the flexibility to either stay or move forward to the new value. She had actually chosen to stay at the old value anyways, so it'll have no actual impact on us. While we're talking about the assessor, I wanted to bring your attention to a memo I sent to all of you about the grand list. I think we mentioned just briefly earlier, we are kind of pretty low in terms of grand list growth this year. We are looking at about a 0.46% growth in our grand list, which is $14.8 million worth of value. So it's not a small number, but yet big picture, what that generates in taxes won't be a whole lot. Today I had the opportunity to meet with the Housing Authority, the chair of the Housing Authority. They're having some financial challenges that we're trying to work through. I did want to get that in front of you to all start thinking about that. We're going to be working on trying to figure out some solutions. So the Housing Authority pays what's called a pilot, a payment in lieu of taxes. They've made a request to either reduce or eliminate that for a period of time to try to get them back on their feet. We're kind of working our way through that and how that might look and what that's going to be, but we'll have some type of an agreement to bring in front of you, hopefully sooner rather than later. The mayor was involved in that meeting today, and I think it was productive, although I do think we have our fair share of work ahead of us. Additionally, just with the financial picture and the way things are looking, from that budget meeting, one of the things the mayor mentioned to us a number of times is there any other revenue we could generate? One of the things our tax collector has brought up is the idea of delinquent motor vehicle taxes. The statutes do allow for her to tack on a $5 fee for people who are delinquent in paying their automobile taxes. And then additionally, when somebody doesn't pay their taxes on their cars, we reach out to DMV and put a hold on it so they can't register their car. So when an individual comes in to register their car, to get that hold removed, they have to pay their taxes. In order to get the hold removed, the tax collector has to reach out to DMV to remove that. They do that once a week. There are certain instances people have come in and complained about having to wait. We're also looking at possibly putting in an additional fee for expediting that removal, like a same-day removal type scenario. Overall, just rough numbers, what we're looking at, it may generate about $26,000 for the year based on delinquent cars in the community. So something that we're looking at that we'll probably be trying to bring forward to all of you. Last week I had the opportunity to go to the police department with the mayor for an awards ceremony. Can't tell you how proud I am of the officers that were out there actually saving people's lives, putting their lives in danger, and doing excellent work for our community. I really want to take the opportunity to commend them publicly tonight in that regard, and how happy I am for the work that they do. We really are fortunate. And then lastly, just to put it on your schedule, we have our Standard & Poor rating call. As I mentioned to all of you last time, we are going to be going out to bond very soon here. So we have our rating call is now scheduled for January 28th. That's our opportunity to kind of shine and show our financial picture to our rating agency. We currently have the highest credit rating you can get, which is a AAA. We've had that reconfirmed, I think 3 times now, and we'll be shooting for our 4th time. And that's all I have at this time. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay. And I got to apologize. I was supposed to include my thanks to the police department at the beginning under mayor's comments. It's the first time I've attended that kind of ceremony, and I won't go through the details here because it's kind of told they kind of like to keep that in-house. But there were 3 or 4 examples that they talked about in detail. You know, I wouldn't not even have imagined to be able to do what they do every day. And in those 3 or 4 examples, you know, I had a lot of respect. I left with even more respect. So I apologize for that. Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Maniscalco. In terms of generating more income, I know ever since I've joined the council, I've always talked about cameras and lights, and I recognize, again, Route 5, which, living on Ellington Road, you hear fire engines and cop cars all day long, recognizing that Route 5 is a state road. However, I know a number of other towns with this license plate camera, they're generating revenue hand over fist. How do we get some of that money?
Right, so I have actually tasked the chief to look into that. He's currently doing a review of a couple areas in town, and then the process would be that we have to apply to DMV. Once DMV approves it, then we'd be able to move forward. There's really 2 types of cameras that are out there. One is for speeding, the other one is for red lights. So I asked him to look into both of them. I believe there was an example in the newspaper maybe a month or 2 ago that showed some pretty exorbitant amounts of money that were coming into one municipality. I want to say order of magnitude of around $1 million plus on a regular basis. The back picture to that, though, is there's this pretty significant behind-the-scenes operation that has to occur because you have to have an appeals process for those tickets. You have to have an individual to process those tickets. So somebody has to actually go through and watch each video. They need to say, oh, that was an ambulance that went through, so they don't get a ticket, or that was, you know, an emergency services or whatever it was. Or, oh, yep, they do get a ticket, and then the ticket gets sent out, and then there's an actual appeal process that the individuals have a right to. The municipality that was mentioned in the article, I think, has 4 employees processing those tickets, and then an additional 3 attorneys that they hired on retainer to do the appeals process. So, I asked the chief if he could try to do the numbers and figure out what they actually end up bringing in after all of that, because that's a pretty significant outlay on that side. We may be upwards of traffic counts for some of the areas we were looking at that would be comparable to that community. So it's a fair assessment to kind of take a look. But that's kind of where we stand at this point. We want to make an educated decision as we move forward with it.
Got it. Thank you. So, and thank you for that. It's obviously been something that's been on my mind for years now. So how does it work in regards to, because obviously we pay every time that the fire engine goes past my house to go to Route 5 for the fire engine, for the cops, and all of that, for every one of those particular accidents. Do we get anything in terms of, maybe not revenue per se, but how is that compensation worked out with the state for all those? Because it's not state troopers all the time that go out there. It's us.
Correct.
And it's not, at least from my limited knowledge, it's not East Hartford either, because it's on our side of the line. How does that work where, you know, we're paying those officers, but it's a state?
Right. We don't get any reimbursement from the state for providing police services on a state road that goes through our town. It's our responsibility to manage the area that's in our town. So there's no reimbursement that comes from the state for that.
Okay. And the final question is, did you, and not to put pressure on the chief, I'm sure he's under enough, did we get a timing on that? Just because I'd love to see what those numbers might be so that it doesn't, we're past the budget year or whatever, just to see if there's a way to include something like that in the budget, because I do believe that the revenue that potentially could be generated even from the Facebook and Twitter fingers that are all over our town that say this person ran a stoplight, this person ran a stop sign, that may, you know.
So the timeline with a project like this is going to be much longer than our budget process. And I'm not talking about the chief's review, I'm talking about DMV. There's, I want to say, 6 or 7 towns already sitting in line waiting for approval. So it's going to be a while.
Anybody else? Councilor Cordero?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Maniscalco, in regards to Hartford Healthcare, once again, taking over, and all the signs are posted in Manchester, but they haven't put the signs up at Tamarack Avenue. Have they reached out to you, or what's their plans for our town, investment-wise, moving forward, expanding?
I have not heard a word from them. I will say the one positive side for South Windsor, at least, is that we've never had any issue with them paying taxes. So we've never had that type of a scenario where some of these other communities have. They have not reached out in relation to an expansion or anything like that. I have heard little rumbles and some communications that did occur between a developer and Hartford Healthcare and one of their current facilities that's here. So maybe there's something they're looking at, but it didn't sound like it was anything of real significance.
Right, because we got, in reality now they're running 2 urgent care centers within a mile and a half of each other. So I'm just a little concerned that the new one isn't as big as the other one here, urgent care at Tamarack. So just concerning as to what their plans might be, because all the signs been changed over Manchester, but these signs have not been changed at all. It still says ECHN. So I'm a little concerned as to why they haven't pushed forward with taking over and moving forward, expanding. So, yeah, they took over and everything's been changed over except for Tamarack Ave. So it's a little concerning that nothing's been done or in the works or silent. So I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah, there's not a word that we've heard about closing anything, moving anything.
Yeah.
So.
And the other thing I just have real quick is, in regards to that area, is Sally's. Once again, I don't understand, they're talking about they were expanding everywhere and moving forward, but that place is collecting dust.
So if you look at, I think it was Sally's Pizza in Weathersfield, took close to 2 years to actually open. So they came out in the news and they said they were going to open, I think it's like something like 1,000 different locations in the next, I want to say it was like 5 years or something like that. I think unfortunately they've, they're making a lot of promises to places, and I don't know if they can actually keep up with the amount of work. I think we're 2nd or 3rd in line for the finished build out of other places they're already building. So, it seems like they're trying to take on one, then go to the next one, then go to the next one. And I think we're like 3rd in line.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like dormant for months. There's not even a sign saying coming soon or opening in 2027, nothing. So I was just concerned about that as well.
I think they're still committed. They've said that they're still going to be there. All their permits are still good. I think really the only things left is the equipment for their kitchen that needs to get put in. So.
Okay. All right. So as long as it's still moving forward. All right. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? I just want to ask one more question, then we'll move on to public comment. And again, I'm just having a little trouble hearing here, but you guys are working on it. You had a solution today, but we'll try it next month. I think your answer to Councilor King, but I just want to make sure I heard correctly. Did I hear that on a state road, if our policemen stop somebody and give a speeding ticket on a state road, the state gets 100%?
Correct.
I think we're going to have to talk to anybody who has one of our friends who's in the legislature.
The same goes if they stop them on a town road too, though. So if you stop somebody on a town road and give them an infraction, that money goes to the state. The town doesn't collect any money from tickets.
Have we ever like priced that out to know how much money we're losing?
It's a lot.
Is that something, I know we get the monthly or bi-monthly totals that say, here's how many people got stopped for whatever. Could you at some point, as we get to the middle of the budget season, just put an estimate to that?
I can ask. I'm not sure if they have the data to generate that exactly, but I can certainly ask.
Okay. Okay. All right. We are on to item 7, public input. Now, this is for items on the agenda. For anybody who is interested in public comment, probably 10 minutes after public comment, we're going to talk about the council rules. And one of the rules we're proposing to change is to make it a little bit easier for the public to talk to us. But for today, public input shall not exceed 30 minutes. When recognized by the mayor, the speaker shall approach the lectern, give their name and address. Speakers shall avoid personal attacks or impugning or alleging an improper motive to any person. The speaker may address the council on any item on the agenda. The speaker shall limit their speaking time to 5 minutes. The town council does not doesn't normally respond at the same meeting you speak to us. And I guess, would anybody like to speak to the town council tonight on something that's on our agenda? Why don't you come on up and just give your name and address, and then we'll go to you second.
First, I'll sign in. You want to start the clock? Okay. My name is Ray Paulin, and I live at 25 Mohegan Trail in South Windsor. I'm here to speak to agenda item 12A, unfinished business, discussion item, proposed amendment to the town council rules and procedures, exhibit A, requested by Mayor Zimmerman and Councilor Delnicki. It's become apparent to me that some politicians in this town are intent on wresting away the power of the people. First, the much beleaguered town charter revision that not only didn't allow for a referendum on the school budget, but also reduced the public vote on town council members from 6 to 5. Now, the proposed town council rules and regulations changed in Exhibit A, page 6, Section 2, public comment, input, D, item 7, to reduce the public participation individual speaking time from 5 minutes to 4 minutes. This limit may not be exceeded except when invoked by any member of the council with the consent of a majority of the council present. Now, I just took almost 2 minutes signing in and introducing myself and the subject on which I wish to speak, leaving me only 3 minutes to say my piece. Should you pass this amendment to the town council rules and procedures proposed by Mayor Zimmerman and Councilor Delnicki, I will only have 2 minutes to deliver my message. This, despite you have the authority to extend the public input portion of the meeting beyond its 30-minute limit to accommodate all speakers. I've only skimmed the rest of Exhibit A, but you folks should have learned your lesson from the charter revision referendum debacle. To paraphrase time-honored legal advice, don't vote for anything that you haven't read and understood. let's not go down that rabbit hole again with the Exhibit A changes here. Please read them. Since I have about a minute remaining, I'd like to suggest that should you pass these rules and regulations, that I be credited with a minute for the next time I speak here, so I can actually tell you what I want to tell you. Thank you.
Why don't you come on up? And again, make sure you give us your name and address first. Thank you.
My name is Charles Warner. I live at 2 Berry Patch in South Windsor. And I was looking at that slide. I thought it was very interesting. There's something about elderly services that somehow seniors are getting a break. Is that correct? That slide? The slides that elderly, taxes and stuff like that? Tax breaks and all that?
So we don't normally respond.
I'm sorry.
But I can certainly talk to you offline, or the deputy mayor can. Go
Okay.
ahead, I'm sorry.
But in any event, what elderly services are we getting? We get a break on senior housing. There's nothing we can do about the landlords who privately own these places doing whatever the heck they want. They jack up the rent $45 to $50 to $75 a month every year with no increase in services. We got 25-year-old appliances that we're stuck with that they won't replace, and the state and the town will not do anything about it. We have a fair rent commission who, to me, doesn't have any teeth at all. They're not doing a thing, and why not? And if that's not, I don't understand what's going on with this town. I really don't. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark DeCiancia. I live on 39 Debbie Drive, South Windsor, Connecticut. In 1975, I walked into the South Windsor Town Council chambers for the very first time. I was a junior at South Windsor High School. I was here to write a paper on small town local government. As I walked in this room, I could feel the great history in this room from all the hardworking community members who made this town great. Here we are, fast forward 50 years. Now we have neighbors versus neighbors, friends pitting against friends, businesses wondering if South Windsor was a good choice. Number one, why are we bringing national government issues to this chamber? Number two, why are we bringing state government issues to this chamber? Why are we bringing state politicians to this chamber? Really? State politicians cared about one thing and one thing only, a five-letter word called votes. V-O-T-E-S. I can think of 5 very important issues before the great 2025 charter revision battle started. Starting with 1, affordability. 2, maintain education. 3, invest in the town infrastructure. 4, state mandates like House Bill 502 and 830, co-sponsored by Senator Anwan, are killing towns. 5, to be committed to all hard-working taxpayers. We must fight Hartford to preserve local control. The outreach by the state politicians are destroying this great community. We must have common sense again. Thank you for your time.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak to the council on something on our agenda? All right. Seeing none, we're skipping item 8. We postponed it. We're up to item 9, communication and from liaisons, officers, and boards directly responsible to the council. Anybody? Counselor Roulette?
I'm trying to recall, it's been a few weeks. Have we had a town council meeting since we had the planning and zoning meeting here? Or is this the first one? Okay, so, planning and zoning had a special meeting with Dr. Carter, presented in the room some facts and figures that I think have been now shared with us, just regarding the trajectory of enrollment in the school system and the challenges that is going to pose for us over the next at least 5 years or so, at a minimum. That's kind of the visibility we have right now. So as we get into the budget cycle, we're going to hear about some challenges we're having with facilities. We're going to have to be very aware and cognizant that we may need to make investments in doing something to add capacity in the high school system. We cannot house all of the students the way things exist today. So we need to be mindful of that as we get into budget cycle, number one. And then number two, there was a referral back for the Niederwerfer dry hydrant, and that was process being it's referred back, so they're saying yes, they approve it in structure, but they don't have the final vote on it. I think it needs to come back to us to vote on. But their referral was a positive affirmation, which then I believe does it come to us directly, or does it go somewhere else first?
No, it doesn't need to come back to you.
Okay.
They just give it a positive referral and that's it.
Okay, that was it.
All right. Anyone else? Counselor King?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know the last time, and I don't know, I wanted to wait until you gave yours. Wasn't there a comment last time I asked about Niederwerfer Road, and they had a special meeting? You said that they were going to meet to discuss that? I wanted to wait. I wasn't sure who to
Right,
ask.
so they did the 824 review, which you guys all sent off to them, so that was the next step. So that's been given the positive referral, and now.
They just combined it into one meeting. It was, they added it as a second agenda item.
Okay. We good? Item 10, report from committees. Not seeing any.
Yep, me.
Oh,
Me.
Counselor Pendleton?
Thank you. Just to report that I want to confirm with Mr. Roberts that there is going to be capital projects meeting tomorrow.
Yes, there is.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we're on the consent agenda. First read, Counselor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion to approve 11A1 through 11A15 as a first reading on the consent agenda.
Second.
Should be 11A14, because we moved 15 to new business.
Oh. My apologies. Motion to approve 11A1 through 14 as a first reading on the consent agenda.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Paterna?
Can I just make one correction to that in item 11? South Windsor, let's see, Edward O'Connell, Public Building Commission, that should be 2028 as his term.
2029.
2029.
Oh, it should be 2029. Okay, can't read my own writing, sorry. Should be 2029.
All right, so can I get it? Oh. Counselor
Actually,
Delnick? Oh, go ahead.
I have one other
Yep.
friendly amendment to my own thing, if I can. On 11A, oh no, we moved 15, so never mind.
All right, can I get a sec?
I do have one other.
Deputy Mayor Paterna?
I'm sorry, this time I can read my writing. On item 14, Cesar Lopez, 13, Loxy Lopez, should be reappointing her instead of appointing her as a member of the Social Justice Commission,
Reappointing.
It says reappoint.
right?
It says reappointing.
But it should be appointing.
Oh, should be
Yeah,
appointing.
first, yeah, I'm sorry.
Attorney Crowley, you're good with that?
Does that mean?
Just double checking.
And then, Mr. Mayor, while he's checking that, in item 15, Robin Pendleton as mayor of, a member of the Parks and Rec Commission. The rest should be stricken. He's just being appointed. He's not filling the expired term of Paul Mackey.
So we're getting rid of the word starting with "to" replace to the rest of that sentence.
Yeah.
Okay, if everybody's okay, I'm going to move ahead. Attorney Crowley, okay, we'll take a minute.
Yeah. It's an appointment.
Okay.
It's an appointment,
All right.
not a reappointment.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Can I get a second to the amended?
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Passes.
Aye.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. All right, we are up to item 12, unfinished business. And this is the discussion item, proposed amendments to the Town Council rules and procedures. It says requested by myself and Councilor Delnicki. This committee actually started with Councilor Delnicki and Councilor Pendleton. But if everybody's okay, I wanted to, and I had this written down so it's not in reaction to somebody who came up to speak to us, but I totally agree. As somebody who rewatched the meeting that the previous council voted for the charter, looking at this document, all right, if you look at how many changes there are in this document, it would be easy to not catch something. So I wrote some notes that hopefully we can try to follow today. And the good news for us today is we're not voting on anything today. We're discussing it. Hopefully the clerk of the council, Mrs. Seneth, will be taking good notes. We're not voting at the end on anything. So here's the three things I wrote down. The way this document's written, the same rule procedure may be listed more than once. For example, the number of minutes somebody can speak is probably listed 5 times, at least. If we make a change in one place, I have confidence that Mrs. Seneth will find all the similar changes and make those for us for our vote next meeting. So I think it's not a great use of our time every 4th page to say, hey, let's talk about 5 minutes versus 4 minutes versus 3. Once we get a sense of the council, I would think for today that issue is settled, unless somebody wants to differentiate between the type of meeting. Now, I'm not talking about between early in the meeting and late, but if there's a paragraph that talks about early meetings that are like today versus meetings that are all online versus meetings, there's multiple types of meetings in here. Today we can make changes by consensus, formal votes next meeting. I'm going to ask for comments or recommended changes 1 page at a time so we can all sort of focus together. And when called upon, if you can let everybody else know the section that you want to change. So please don't start talking about how we're electing the mayor without telling us, you know, it's page 3 and it's item H or whatever, just so we can all follow. I'm going to defer to Councilor Delnicki or Councilor Pendleton if they have any advice, and then we'll get going.
Councilor Pendleton, did you want to go ahead, or do you want me to start? Because I know you and I did 3/4 of this.
Go ahead, Audrey.
Well, I was just looking to see if you had any like overall advice. I'll go through page by page.
When you say advice, what do you?
Just general advice, since you were part of the committee. I'll lead the group through pages and stuff, but I just wanted to see if you had any overall general comments for the group.
No, the only one is what you and I spoke to about regarding the time, because we're going, instead of breaking up 7 to 2 different ones, and then Attorney Corella questioned why Article 13, time of adjournment. Sorry, 23?
Okay, but if I could just, I'm going to just stop you with respect. Let's wait until we get there.
Okay.
All right?
All right.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through because I don't want to.
Yeah, because you're leading this. I
Yep.
mean, I can answer questions that Councilor Pendleton and I brought up why we did certain things.
That would be great. All right, does anybody have any changes to what's in front of you for page 1?
Are we starting with the document in the back, the second?
No, I'm sorry. I'm starting with It's a good example. I'm starting with Exhibit A, which is the first document which has all the changes in it. And I believe changes that the group made are in red, help me out, and changes in blue are by the town attorney.
Correct.
All right, and then there are some changes to the right, like maybe we should consider the following, but there weren't changes made, but there was questions. All right, so on page 1 of that document, anybody have anything? Page 2, I'm guessing somebody may, but Councilor Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I just had a question in,
What page, what section?
page 2, Article 2, Section 1, subsection B.
Yep.
On the appointment of the choosing of the mayor and the deputy mayor.
You mean Article 3, right? 'Cause that's what it has here.
Oh, yeah,
Article.
3, yep, sorry. I didn't read the Roman numeral.
I know, I had to count.
I'm just trying to understand why the deputy mayor would be selected at the discretion of the mayor.
That, I
Why?
don't think, sorry to interrupt, but this was one that I think Councilor Pendleton and I were trying to get the wording right. I don't remember us discussing that the deputy mayor would be selected at the discretion of the mayor. I don't know where that came from. I don't remember what that was.
I could sort of see it in the second piece, or if there is no clear majority party, the mayor will be chosen by a majority of the vote of the entire town council. Like that type of a scenario I could see being at the discretion of the mayor. But in the first instance, I would think that it should just go the way that we've always gone. It's the highest vote getter.
Yeah, and that's what we were trying to accomplish when we did this. But we were just having a hard time trying to get the verbiage right.
All right, I'm going to open it up. Councilor Ouellette, this topic.
So, I'm not saying this is a bad thing or a good thing, but what if we have two different parties, two highest vote getters? Is that a good thing or a bad thing for the council? First thing. Second thing, I understand what the intent is, what shall be selected by the mayor, not at the discretion of it. That would be a simpler way of stating that. But which direction do we want to go in? Do we want to go in the direction of the two highest vote getters, mayor, deputy mayor? Or do we want to have a mayor who's the highest vote getter and then makes their decision on who it is? Those are two different paths.
So I just know from where I'm sitting, I would like to leave it up to normally the party's discretion, because each party may have, the Republicans may decide during the election process, here's who they want, they either have a candidate or they have a way to figure it out. The Democrats might be separate. If we want to keep it the leading vote getter the way it's written, it does say highest vote getter from the majority party. Now, again, we have to be careful how things are written, because we could have 4, 4, and 1. And then, that rule doesn't really apply. So I don't think it says, I think it probably should say the leading vote getter from the majority party, if there is a majority party, or I'll leave it up to the town attorney working with Mrs. Center, but I think we learned our lesson in the charter that we have to assume, like what we're not assuming today.
Can I make a counterpoint to that, please? So we've heard a lot of feedback in this room that every vote counts and that people's votes should matter. It would be hypocritical for us to say, yeah, but in this situation, the mayor gets to pick who he or she wants as their deputy mayor. I think it should be two highest vote getters, irrespective of party.
So, and I'll go to, so you think it was your last election, 6-3 Republican, let's just make it up, I don't know what, it probably wasn't the case, but it could be. So if the second leading vote getter was a Democrat, but the Republicans won 6-3, you'd like to see that Democrat be deputy mayor?
That's what the town would like to see.
Okay.
Because if the votes matter, then the votes should matter.
I'm going to go to Councilor Fitzgerald and Councilor Delnicky.
No,
Okay.
The intent of Counselor Pendleton and I to have it in writing is to keep what has always been every election. Highest vote getter of the majority party, and that's how it was written. So that way, just because party leaders may not like the highest vote getter of the majority party, they might try to push that person out for the second highest vote getter. And that's why we're putting it in writing that way, because it's been a tradition. And this way it's in the rules. And that's how the voters voted.
Can I ask Councilor Roulette, and then I'll go Councilor Cordero. Are you, I just want to make sure I understand, is it your opinion that it should be the leading vote getter regardless of who has the majority for mayor?
It's the leading vote getter,
Because
period.
okay, so I will tell you, just as an example, there probably were 3 elections where I was the leading vote getter on the board before we finally got a Democratic majority and I was the board chair for 3 terms. But 3 other occasions, I was the leading vote getter. But the way the board works, we lost the 10th spot, so it's 5-4 Republicans. I'm just asking the question because I will tell you, nobody in those meetings said, let's give it to the highest vote getter. So do you want to do that, or is it your opinion that it should be the leading vote getter, at least from the party that has the majority? Just
It
a question.
should be the highest vote getter
Okay.
is the mayor, and the second highest vote getter is the deputy mayor.
Okay.
Regardless, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Regardless of party. That's
Okay,
my
then
opinion.
I'm going to go back for history. I'm going to tell you right now, Tom Delnicky would have been mayor 4 times.
Correct.
Because of that, because he was the highest vote getter, even though he wasn't in the majority party. So, with your thought.
It's not my thought. It's the thoughts that have been shared in this room over the last month and a half.
Okay. I'm going to go to Councilor Cordero, and then clearly this is an item, I don't know how exactly we can do it, but star this one. We're not going to force any kind of consensus today.
Okay.
I think people really need to think about it, because I think obviously there's divergent thoughts, and I want to go back and think about it. But
No, I was
Councilor
going to
Cordero.
reiterate what Councilor Delnicky mentioned, that example that we had years ago, where the highest vote getter, where people talk about the vote matters, well, that didn't happen back then, because the highest vote getter was not mayor, because he was in the minority party. Now, as things move forward 20 years from now, we could have an independent come in and just take the town by storm, right? Independent, not Democrat, whatever, his own party, and had the majority of votes. Now, that person's votes doesn't matter because they're in the minority as one person, but they're the highest vote getter in town.
Yep.
So I'm saying that we've got a lot of examples you can play devil's advocate with, but there's a lot of examples where, you know, where does the vote matter? Where does it stop in picking mayor and deputy mayor? So
Good discussion. I think we're going to have to continue it.
Table it.
Can we agree, just maybe take one thing off the table? Can we get rid of the thing that says the mayor selects the deputy mayor and say whatever we agree to the mayor in some way, shape, or form is going to apply to the deputy mayor? That's going to be based on votes. We'll figure out whose votes, but we're not going to let the mayor, to your point, select the deputy mayor. I don't think that's anybody's intent. I understand why it was.
That's why we had a hard time trying to get the verbiage.
So, Mrs. Sen, if you could take that out, and then also, I do like the addition here that basically says the only time you can replace the mayor is if there's a vacancy, and the reason for a vacancy would be the mayor steps down, and I guess we probably should have language, and this is, I don't think ever been the case in the history of our town, but just to cover it, you know, if the mayor does something that makes them inappropriate to be mayor, I'll leave to the town attorney to come up with that, but not that 5 or 6 of us at any point could decide to get rid of the mayor. You know, there might be a reason for the current one, but I'm just talking about the future. All right, so if we could agree to that, but leave exactly which vote, who's going to become mayor and deputy mayor, you know, I think it's going to be a good thought process.
Mr. Mayor? Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Attorney Corella.
Exactly what are you looking to change there? In the event of a vacancy or the declination to serve as mayor or something else?
I think it's, yeah, vacancy, but a vacancy, well, no, in addition to a vacancy, which sounds like it's the mayor's choice, what would you do hypothetically? I hate to even say it, but if I got arrested tomorrow, we're not going to wait for me to actually go to jail. I think if I got arrested for something that potentially made me unqualified to be mayor, there needs to be some vehicle, I think, to remove the mayor. But it can't just be because people are upset because I wanted lights on a field. It would have to be some malfeasance or whatever the phrase would be. So I think we need to add that. I hate to use the example because I'm the current mayor.
Mr.
Got
Mayor.
it? Okay?
Are you saying?
Mr. Maniscalco.
Yeah, just a question. So are you saying that you would want the mayor removed from the council as a whole? Because that's a whole different conversation than just from the position of mayor.
Yeah, I think his position is mayor. I mean, the voters elected somebody. I don't think we can replace
Yeah, I don't
somebody.
think you can actually do that.
But this is, you know, an honored position, so it needs to
Got
be
it.
earned. Okay. Councilor Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I just have a problem with that, just because, well, in this country, we have a presumption that you're innocent until you're proven guilty, so you could get arrested for something that you never did wrong. I mean, I would think in a circumstance like that, you know, an honorable person serving as mayor would step aside as the mayor, you know, even if it's just temporarily until the situation is resolved. But I think you start to get into a really gray area if you don't specifically say like what they could be removed as mayor for, because then it starts to get into, you know, who knows.
You're kind of opening up
Yeah.
a can of worms
Yeah.
politically, but it's your council, and procedurally, we could fashion something, which is essentially a vote of no confidence.
Right.
That would ask the mayor or tell the mayor that you're no longer mayor. The mayor was appointed by your rules. No, the electorate doesn't elect you as mayor.
Right.
Right? They elect 9 council members, and so you get seated as mayor pursuant to your rules is what you're talking about, whether it's historically been the highest vote getter of the majority party, or however you want to seat the mayor. That's up to you guys to decide in the rules. If you want to include some sort of vote of no confidence or a procedure by which the rest of you say to the mayor, step down. You're still a council member. You can't unseat you because you were elected, but you can't be the mayor anymore. We can put something in there.
I'm going to go to Councilor and then I'll make a comment. Councilor.
In the event of a vacancy, though, I'm going to advocate following the same exact procedure. So if we lose a person who's on town council sitting in the mayor's seat, they move away or they're just no longer with us, should go to the number 2 vote getter and number 3 vote getter. The next 2 sequential vote getters should become mayor and deputy mayor.
Okay.
Keep it consistent.
All right, I'll go to Councilor King, Councilor Delnicki. I have a comment, and maybe we can move on to the next thing, but Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only comment that I would make is keep in mind that, and I can only speak for myself, when I became deputy mayor, it was my first election, right? And holding true to what you say, in hindsight, I would not have wanted to be deputy mayor. Maybe title, but position, no. And I think the way that it has always been, which has been very good, and yes, every vote does matter. However, there's always been a discussion, regardless of the amount of votes, in the council, and well, yeah, because you just got elected, where we all voted as a council to say whether or not a person should be, and at that time, a person can say yes or no. So I understand sort of what you're suggesting, but at the same time, that's why we have a minority leader. They still have the respect as well as the responsibility for the minority party. But I don't know, and I could be way wrong, any organization that has, just like you have the president, the vice president, and the speaker of the House, and so on and so forth. They don't necessarily, they're elected to those positions, but South Windsor is very different than a lot of towns and cities where we don't run for a mayor. We don't run for deputy mayor or these other positions. So I would just, I think I understand why you're suggesting it based on recent events. However, I would just caution you, only because you may be in a situation which you're still learning where, yeah, I might have been the second or even the first, but I don't want it. Just because everybody loves Steve don't mean that I want to be mayor.
Well, Councilor King, I just will point out, it does say unless declined.
Okay, well,
So
praise,
you could
okay,
decline.
okay, right, okay.
Or
Thank
I
you
could
very
decline.
much. Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to go to Councilor Delnecki, and I just have one other comment, and then can we, okay. Do you have a comment
Oh,
on this?
no.
Okay.
I'm just keeping it on because we're discussing, sorry.
Yep. To the town attorney, could you take a shot, and whether the council wants to do it or not, we'll see when we see it in writing, something in writing that would talk about malfeasance, whatever, and some supermajority number that would have to vote, so we make sure it wasn't like a popularity thing, but we needed like people from both parties to say this person really shouldn't be mayor, and we could decide to do it or not. All right, we're going to move on to page 3. Does anybody have anything? Seeing none. Page 4. Deputy Mayor Paterno.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just some clarification, and maybe the town attorney can help us out. In that work sessions, calling it as a special meeting, can that be for budget deliberations also?
Yes.
It can.
I think it can be now.
Okay.
This was something that came up when we did our town council training about
Yeah.
whether or not you needed to have an agenda and post an agenda for that.
Yeah.
Under some recent 2024 and 2025 FOIA decisions that went to the Superior Court, I believe, they determined that work sessions or any meeting of a public body where there's a majority or a quorum.
Right.
Okay, so if you have a work session, that's a quorum of you here, that's a public meeting. It needs to be, needs to have an agenda, it needs to be posted, minutes have to be kept, the whole 9 yards.
Yep. Okay, thank
All
you.
right, anything else on page 4? All right, page 5, I think we're going to have some discussion. Anybody on page 5?
Yep.
Deputy Mayor Paterno.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm concerned about, I know I'll have some disagreement, but I'm concerned about the word jurisdiction in this document. And I'll use a speaker tonight, Mr. Wagner, right? Mr. Wagner? Is it Mr. Wagner? Werner. Mr. Werner came up tonight, and while we don't have jurisdiction over the housing situation because a private company owns it, they are citizens of our town. He can come to us and ask for our support. He can come to us, I would think, to ask for us to write a letter to the owner or to meet with the owner and review why these rent increases. I think he should have that right. If we just shut him off and say, well, we don't have jurisdiction over those apartments, I'm not sure that's good for the town. So I think, to me, it should be something related to governmental issues, quality of life, resources in town, business development, whatever the concerns are, people should be able to speak to that at a public input session, I would think.
All right, I just want to make sure that everybody at home can follow. What we're talking about is Article 6, Section 1, Number 7, and this is the first time we're talking about a change. The whole reason, there were 2 or 3 reasons why we went through the charter revision initially. One of the big reasons I asked for this, and now we're looking at everything, was I thought the early public comment should be anything on the agenda, the same as the last public comment. We shouldn't make people wait 2 hours to talk to us. The Board of Ed has lived that since I was on for 15 years. That's how the Board of Ed was. And this also has, just so people are clear, a change that was recommended by the committee to go from 5 minutes to 4. So it's changing the early public comment to be open to everything. Deputy Mayor Paterno's comment about what the word jurisdiction means, and then the change to 4 minutes. and I'm going to go to Councilor Delnicki.
Okay, your, Deputy Mayor, your example is our jurisdiction. Housing and Fair Rent, we have a Housing and Fair Rent Commission. And anyone who is disputing, town attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while since we had a Housing and Fair Rent meeting. If there is a dispute, if a resident feels they're being unfairly rate increased, right? They can go online and file a complaint through the town manager's office, and then it gets looked at by the town attorney to, right, or?
There's an appeal body there. The Fair Rent and Housing Commission has a review process. It does run through the town attorney's office. And yeah, but it's available online, and it does have the power to address the concerns that Mr. Werner raised tonight.
Okay, but I want to make sure we don't do what happened again that meeting where where the council voted for the charter. I think to say that it's under the jurisdiction's enough. We don't have to go down because I don't want to lose the discussion. So assuming that you're correct, that the example that the deputy used was under the jurisdiction, do you have anything else on that?
Oh, no, I just wanted to comment because we were going to do a 7A and a 7B.
Right.
And that would have probably made the meeting an hour, half an hour longer. So that's why I agreed, because we were going to do 3 minutes and 4 minutes. And so we agreed on the 4 minutes total, because public comment, you do end up, item 15, public comment, we get an additional 3 minutes.
Again, it's up to us to decide
Correct.
whether it's 5, 4, 3, or some other number. Councilor Lett.
So I'm going to use, to Councilor Delnicki's point, I'm going to commingle 7 and 15. So 15 also says over which the council has jurisdiction, but that should be comment on any matter, irrespective of whether we have jurisdiction over it, and true public comment. But I'm going to agree with, without bringing it back up, the first speaker that came up and talked about limiting the time, speaker that talked about limiting the time, I wholeheartedly agree. I think it should be 5 minutes for everybody. People, we're elected and we represent these people. We have to hear what their opinions are, and it should be 5 for everything. We may not like their opinion, that's okay. We may be here till 11 o'clock, that's what we signed up for. So I'm advocating for 5 across the board. I do like splitting it up, items over which we have jurisdiction in 7, and then public comment on any matter, as long as it adheres to the other rules. And I'm drawing a blank on where they are in here, but that a little preamble that you read about the public comment, it can't disparage and some things that we can't respond. That's just my feedback on those 2 items.
Okay. I just want to flesh out the jurisdiction again. So the examples I wrote down, we have people that come, I used to do it, and say, hey, American Legion tournament coming up. We have people talking about the school play and wants to put a plug in. I don't believe we have any jurisdiction over that, but I also think that's stuff that we want to hear from the public. They're not going to talk for 5 minutes on it, but the way it's currently written, if the mayor were so supposed, he could gavel and shut those people down. I think most mayors would let that happen, but I think we should be consistent. So again, I see that town attorney has this light on. Do you have any advice for us?
Well, just listening to you, I would recommend that you keep on on item number 7, comment on any matter over which the council has jurisdiction. I think you should keep that language in there because it does address those items that you can actually address in the context of your meeting. As far as, public comment on any matters that people want to talk about, if you want to leave something like that in, then I would suggest, I think as Councilor Roulette is suggesting, that stay on item 15. If you want to manage your time a little bit better, maybe cut it down to a total time of 15 minutes or 10 minutes. You can always extend it if there's a big public matter about something that you don't have jurisdiction, but people want to talk to you about whatever it is. You should hear them, and you can do that by way of maybe a shortened time at the end of the meeting And if you really have a big crowd, you can always vote to extend it and hear them more. But I do think you should manage your time with the public as matters that you have something that you can do about on the front end of the meeting, and maybe overall discussion on topics that are of public concern on the back end, something like that.
All right, I'm going to go to Councilor Delnicki, then Councilor King. Councilor King?
So the only thing that I would suggest, I would almost flip it. And the only reason I'm suggesting that is, and I'm sure you've all seen it, when we have young people that come from the school. If we keep them and then they got to stay until, because we all want to have a diatribe and talk forever, and then they end up staying till 10 because we can't have a vote, then I wouldn't want to do that. I would rather have, if something is that important to you, that is something that the council needs to discuss. If you want to keep the word jurisdiction, for me, I'd rather throw it out. But I understand why we would keep it. Then I would suggest that we would have public about anything on the agenda first, and for that main reason. For our young people, for our seniors that have to get to bed, nobody should have to stay because we could be all night long talking about those different items. So that's the only reason I would, if we do keep that word jurisdiction, I would almost say flip it, because if something is that important to someone and it's on our agenda, they're gonna stay until the end to have their point. That's all.
All right, so can we, well, I'll go to Councilor Lett.
So I appreciate Councilor King's feedback on that. Take it one step further. I'd like to just see it, instead of being 7 and 15, be 7 and 8. So we have a block for things that we have jurisdiction over as soon as they're done talking. Children, elderly, they want to talk about, somebody saw bald eagles in town. That's awesome. We're talking about a play, have them speak, and then we get to our business. It's not going to consume a lot of additional time on our side. I just would like to have, personally, I like to have them as 2 separate blocks, so if there's stuff on the agenda, we're not jumping back and forth between subject from things we have responsibility over versus just public information.
So that was the early discussion, was to have 2 separate, and I think I was one that made the argument against them. Maybe there was other people too that on the committee. I didn't necessarily want an hour potential of public comment early in the meeting, because to quote a former board chair, this is a business meeting held in public. We don't even have to have public comment. Now, politically, we'd never get away with that, and quite honestly, I want to hear people's comment like the other 8 of us. But I think a 30-minute block early and a 30-minute block late, with us having the ability to extend it, makes more sense to me than 30 and then 30 and then wait a little bit and have another potential 30, or divide it up. My other problem was if you divide them up, let's say 15 and 15 or some mechanism, who's to judge if somebody was there at the right time? And depending on what you let somebody get away with, you know, it could kind of skew who gets to talk. So I'm hoping we can leave it as 30, but I guess maybe that'll be also something that we can maybe not decide today. So I think the jurisdiction, we don't have a final decision whether we're going to have, well, let me just ask, just to see consensus. Is there consensus to keep 1 30-minute early and 1 30-minute late with the ability to extend, working out the language of exactly what's the early and what's the late, kind of that word jurisdiction? I know Councilor Lett's not in favor, but is everybody else in favor?
Just for clarification, you want to make 7 to include agenda items and anything else in one 30-minute segment.
That's the
and
way
I
it's
think
written.
that's the purpose of the 4 minutes, to get more people to be able to speak if you're going to combine the 2. Because in the past council rules, there were 2 separate items. It was 7 and 8, public input for items on the agenda. I don't even think it was worded that way. It was just, there were 2 separate items. I like to keep the word jurisdiction in there.
All right, so I guess what I'm trying to see is, do we at least have consensus, make a little progress, for us to leave the 1 early, have it be broad, have it be 30 minutes? If we could ask Mrs. Seneth to capitalize the word jurisdiction, so we have that discussion next meeting and figure that out. And I'd like, well, let's use that separate before we talk about the number of time, the minutes. Is everybody, generally everybody good? I know maybe not everybody, but is there a majority that are good with that? Yes. And again, we have to vote next meeting anyway, but just for the written document. I think I'm with Councilor Ouellette. I'd like to see it be 5. Most people are not going to use 5. I understand where Councilor Delnicky's coming from, because if it's 4, you're letting more people talk. I'm going to go to Councilor Pendleton in a minute. I think any mayor that I've known, if there's a room full of people that want to talk, you're going to extend it at least once or twice. It's very seldom has any mayor ever shut down the public, and that did not go well. So I'm less worried about generally, because most of our meetings are going to be like today. A few people were here, and then they all went home, other than just one person here now. So I think we can survive that. But I'm going to go to Councilor Pendleton, sorry.
That's okay. The Toastmasters say that you lose interest in when someone is speaking after the 3-minute mark. So going to the 4 minutes, I think, is pushing it where people would be interested in still listening to someone speak. I'm okay with the 4 minutes. I'm okay with putting it out there, like you just said, a consensus to do what you want to do at this point in time, and then voting on it later. I'm also okay with the word jurisdiction. So I'm agreeing, I'm giving you the thumbs up on what you want to do.
All right, to make some progress for today, can we just ask Mrs. Seneth to put 3, 4, or 5 in a box, bolded, whatever, and we're going to decide next meeting, 4 or 5 minutes, and we're going to decide the word jurisdiction, and we're going to move on? Is that okay? We'll fight another day. All right. Anything on page 6 that's new? It says 3 minutes. Don't worry about that. It says the word jurisdiction. We'll worry about that. But is there anything brand new? Seeing none, we're on page 7. Oh, I'm sorry. Can we just go back? I forgot one thing. On page 5, letter B. Attorney Corella, can you talk about, the code of ethics in executive session?
I'm sorry, where are you?
It's on page 5, letter B, second paragraph, and it talks about our executive session, and it says we're going to follow the code of ethics, section 2487.
I'm sorry, I can't find it. Oh, I see. B as in boy, not D.
And you could get back to us if you...
What are you asking? I'm sorry. All discussions and communications during executive session are considered to be confidential. Code of ethics. Okay.
Yeah, like what, maybe for the next meeting, if you could just give us a quick version of like what we're agreeing that we're going to follow. Because I know like in the Board of Ed, the instruction always was, if you hear something in executive session, you're not supposed to share it. But if you do share it, there's no more executive session.
That's right.
This basically says, instead of saying that sentence, it basically says the next sentence is, hey, even if you get off the council, what you heard in executive session was the executive session. So we chose that was the important thing. I'm just wondering, should we also like have the line that I just said? Because I think that's pretty important, that if you break executive session, if this is the case, you're not going to jail, but it just means that information is now public, which is important. You don't want to do that, but is there anything else in that code of ethics, section 24487, that we should know about without us looking ourselves?
Okay. You want a summary of those provisions?
Yeah, just a real quick high level, so I know what we're agreeing to.
Okay.
Okay. All right, there was nothing on page 6. Page 7.
Can I make a comment on pages 6, 7, 8, and 9?
Yep.
So you've got this broken out into the public comment sections for item 7, broken out into in-person or virtual meetings. And then you got on section 15, which is also public comment, in-person or virtual meetings. I think you can combine all of this into one summary of what people can say and can't say and how you say it and when you say it, how long it's going to be, all for all of it. I think this was drafted in 2020 or 2021 on the heels of COVID, and virtual world was just coming to our doorsteps, and how do we handle people, and how, so I think you can consolidate all of that into 4 or 5 paragraphs like you have here.
Could you work with that piece of it with Mrs. Seneth? I think that makes all the sense in the world. All right, anything on page 7? So page 7, just so everybody knows, left in did not make any changes with the fact that we're going to read into the record letters that people send to the council if they ask for the letters to be read to the council. And the reason for that note is to just make sure that that's what we want to continue to do. Okay? Page 8. Okay, so I have a question on the bottom, since we're going over the council rules. I know we've had this discussion, Mr. Town Manager and the Town Attorney. I'm at item 15, letter B. This is the thing that we read that says, no personal attacks, impugning or alleging improper motive to any person. Can we take another look at that language? Because half the people that come up, you could say, like even the meeting before where we had some people talking about the charter, 2/3 of the people, depending on who was sitting right here, could have decided that that was maybe not a personal attack, yes, or impugning or alleging an improper motive, harder to get, but a personal attack is really kind of in the eyes of the beholder. Some of it's obvious, some of it's not. But if somebody says, somebody said something, we shouldn't be talking about politics, we shouldn't be talking about whatever, you could say if we had just done that, that was a personal attack. I mean, it wasn't. I think it was a legitimate comment, but depending on who's sitting here, I just wish, I mean, again, I'm going to get criticized for saying, on the board, the rules were if somebody swore, you shut them down, and if somebody said they were going to hurt somebody in some version of that, you shut them down. But, during COVID, I was called a number of things, and it was public comment. And if you're here and you're elected, the theory was you got to listen. Doesn't mean we have to be happy. Doesn't have to mean it's real or it's accurate. But if you could take a look just to see what some other towns are doing, because I've watched some other town council meetings recently online, and either the mayor's ignoring their rules or their rules are different. And I don't want people to come and yell at the current mayor, but, if they'd like to, I think they have the right to do that a little broader than this. Now, I think we haven't enforced this. I have trouble sometimes when you don't enforce rules. But, I don't know if anybody else has an issue, but I think you'll get out as much as possible. You have to let the public talk. All right. So maybe we can mull that over. So again, if you could sort of highlight that. All right, anybody on page 9? I think we're gonna have a bunch of no comments because I think it's page 9, page 10. 11, 12, 13, 14.
11.
Page 11.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. Page 11, item D, talking about the agenda. And additional or such additions should be supplied to the clerk of the council by the close of business on the day of the agenda meeting. So the agenda meeting is on Mondays, right?
Yep.
Well, technically, the close of business day is 7 o'clock.
That's why they crossed it out.
But I mean, we're going to go with that. 7 o'clock. People can bring stuff in up till 7 o'clock to get on the agenda.
Mrs. Senator?
We, sometimes if there's a holiday on a Monday, we do have the agenda meetings on Tuesdays, so I think that's why
Right.
it was kind of left, like, close of business.
Right. All right. Okay. All right. Just want to make sure we're not putting ourselves in a position where people are coming in at 6:45 with stuff for the agenda, Okay. Thanks.
Okay. 15, 16, and obviously people will have another bite the next meeting. Let me ask it this way. Does anybody have anything else? In this document? Yeah, I do. I'll go with Councilor Fitzgerald. What page?
Hang on, I had to get there. Page 24. Article 19, if I did my Roman numerals correct, on the town attorney hiring process.
Yep.
I'm just wondering why that whole section was taken out, and shouldn't we say something about, you know, that the town manager starts the process, but the town council approves the town manager's recommendation? And also, I think I would recommend that that there be town council representation on the committee that reviews the proposals. If we go out for an RFP for the town attorney, someone from the town council sits on that panel to review the proposals that come in.
So, Mr. Maniscalco, is that something, can you work on a paragraph that you're comfortable with and obviously run it by the attorney to make sure that it's meets the legal muster, and then we'll have that for the next meeting? Is that all right?
Sure, we could put something back in about it. I mean, I think the idea behind taking it out is because the charter change that occurred around the town attorney appointment, but we can make that modification.
Councilor Delnicki?
Okay, back on page 23, Article 13. Time of adjournment for the meeting. It says a majority vote of the council members present and voting is needed to extend a meeting past 11. Past practice, this is what brought it to my attention, that a motion is made to extend the meeting for an extra 15 minutes after 11, and it's always been where one vote always canceled out the majority. So if one person said, I don't want to extend, then you don't extend the meeting. So I think if it says the majority vote, if you got 8 people saying yes and only 1 saying no, how can you not extend the meeting? Because that's how it's happened in the past. And this is what, when we were going through this.
Can I ask the town attorney, because that has been the past practice, and in fact, I think they still do that on planning and zoning. Not planning and zoning, yeah, planning and zoning, because there's one member that has to get up earlier than others, but, and I know the council used to do it.
Right, and that's what, when we were going through the rules here, and this is what brought to my attention, is like, how can, if it says here majority voting, a majority vote, how can one person say no? I mean, they can say no, but the majority is the vote. So why would we always not extend the meeting because of that one person?
I agree.
Okay.
I don't know what your past practice has been. I don't think I've actually sat through a meeting where there's been a vote to go beyond 11 o'clock.
I think you were the one, and we just.
And you guys, we were okay with it. But if the rule is a majority vote, then it's a majority vote. And 1 or even 2, maybe even 3 can't, even if they disagree, can't say, no, we're not extending. If the majority votes to extend, you can extend.
Because I remember back in I think we were virtual at the time, and somebody made a motion to extend the meeting, and I was the no vote, and we didn't extend the meeting.
Okay.
So, point of clarification?
This is fine, as stated.
So was this the way it's written?
I
Was this
think so.
always in here?
I think so.
And yet we went by that rule, you're right. Wow.
Okay. All right, so the good news is it's written correctly.
Yeah.
All right, is there any other,
So we just have the clarification
Right.
that
On the
from
record.
now on, that one no vote is, okay.
okay. All right, is everybody good with the discussion for today? All right, I really would like to pass this next meeting, because I really would like to make the change to at least the early public comment, so people don't have to wait. Especially as we get to budget season, if we're not talking about the budget in a particular meeting, I'm sorry, if we aren't, we want people to be able to talk early. They shouldn't have to wait 2 hours to get to it.
Can I make one more comment? I just like to let you know, I agree with moving up. That's items not on the agenda, because when this was changed to split like that and everybody has to wait to the very end, I never liked that. So I just have to agree.
Okay. All right, new business, item 13, Councilor Roulette.
Motion to approve refund batch number 11 for 14 refunds totaling $7,165.20 as more fully described in Exhibit B.
Second.
Okay, any questions, concerns? All those in favor, aye. Anybody opposed? No? We are up to letter B, 13B, Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a resolution accepting the resignation of Steve Lewis as an alternate member of the Inland Wetlands Agency / Conservation Commission with a term end date of 12/31/28. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby accepts with regret the resignation of Steve Lewis from the Inland Wetlands Agency / Conservation Commission effective January 7th, 2026, and be it further resolved that the South Windsor Town Council extends its thanks to Steve Lewis for the time dedicated to serving the community by membership on the Inland Wetlands Agency / Conservation Commission.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. 13C, Councilor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution accepting the resignation of Genevieve Corsi as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission with a term end date of 12/31/26. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby accepts with regret the resignation of Genevieve Corsi from the Parks and Recreation Commission effective January 7th, 2026, and be it further resolved that the South Windsor Town Council extends its thanks to Genevieve Corsi for the time dedicated to serving the community by membership on the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you. 13D, Councilor Pendleton.
Resolution accepting the resignation of Rose Matura as an alternate member of the Patriotic Commission with a term and date of 12/31/2026. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby accepts with regret the resignation of Rose Matura from the Patriotic Commission effective January 6, 2026, and be it further resolved that the South Windsor Town Council extends its thanks to Rose Matura for the time dedicated to serving the community by membership on the Patriotic Commission.
Second.
Okay, with the second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. Passes unanimously. 13E, Deputy Mayor Paterna.
I just have a quick question on this one. Do we really need to read the resignation? Because it's automatically expired.
Oh,
Yeah.
January 1st.
I had the same thought. I don't know that you need to accept, I mean, you can accept his resignation, but his term expired on December 31st of last year.
yep, that's right.
And the
Okay.
resignation says effective January
You're
1st.
already filling a spot for, well, you had a first reading of an item to fill
Right.
that vacancy already
Right.
teed up. So if you want to
Okay.
thank him for his
Thank you,
service.
Mr. Mackey, for your service.
All right. We moved this, so 13F, I think, is Councilor Fitzgerald.
Oh.
When do I have to recuse myself?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution appointing Robin Pendleton as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission. Be it resolved that the South Windsor Town Council hereby appoints Robin Pendleton as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission for a term ending November 30th, 2029, and postpones consideration of this motion until the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
All right.
I'm going to recuse myself from this vote, please.
Yep. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? There's one abstention. Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right. Item 14, passage of ordinance. We don't have any. Item 15, public input on any matter. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to us at this time? Okay. Seeing none, but we do appreciate the fact that you stuck it out. Item 16, communication from the council. Anybody? Councilor Cardera?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple things. I was able to attend the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities this past Saturday, so I want to thank the opportunity of being part of it and meeting other members, elected members throughout the whole state during the conference. It was worthwhile talking to other members, different towns, and their issues and so forth. And also want to say thank you to, in regards to Public Works doing their work over the past few weeks with the snow and weather conditions, the emergency responses by our police, fire, and EMS in those conditions. The job's tough enough as it is in normal conditions, so the mere fact they're able to do what they do in the weather conditions, I'd like to thank them for their service and safety. And,
Anyone else?
And I'll also be.
Sorry.
Oh, no, just another follow-up. I will be, I'll bring forth, I'm working on the boards and commissions, working on that with Counselor King, so I should have an update next council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor King.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, Councilor Cordero. Just to let everyone know, especially as the town manager spoke about, we may have other storms. Please don't forget, to all of our residents, we do have a place where you can get salt, dirt, all the other stuff with our Public Works. I'm sorry, I can't remember the address. I just drive over there, so now it's just muscle memory. But it's over at the Public Works location. I'm just saying, for me, that has an incline or decline of a hill, it's been tremendous. Just take the bucket over there, fill it up, take it home, use it at your leisure. Fortunately, you know, especially with these repeats, it seems like we just woke up and there was more snow out there, and I was like, son of a gun. So please, for all of you, you don't necessarily, and this is one of the benefits of living in South Windsor, from a service perspective, your taxes pay for that. So don't go to Home Depot and Lowe's and buy all the salt and all the other type of stuff. You can go right over to the Public Works location and pick that up at your leisure.
Okay. Item 17, I'm going to turn to Deputy Mayor Paterna in a minute.
Mayor Zimmerman?
Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Pendleton, my fault.
I'm sorry. I just want to mention that, and I haven't heard it mentioned at our meetings, if you have a fire hydrant on your property, if you wouldn't mind clearing 3 feet all the way around it so the firefighters can get in and use that hydrant if need be, and the snow isn't frozen to the fire hydrant. So if you could just clear around the fire hydrant 3 feet all the way around, it'd be really appreciated, firefighters.
Okay. I'm going to turn to Deputy Mayor Paterna for executive session, but just for the public, we will be closing the meeting from executive session, so this will be the end of the public meeting. And to the fellow town councilors, we're probably going to have like a 5-minute break so we can set up the technology in the other room. All right, Deputy Mayor Paterna.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move that we go into executive session, inviting the town manager, Michael Maniscalco, assistant town manager, Mr. Roberts, and our town attorney, Richard Corella, pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 1-206B, discussion of pending claims or litigation of Madison versus Town of South Windsor, and a second executive session to discuss a personnel issue, and I'd like to invite the town manager and the clerk of the council to be with us.
All those in favor?